Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Guest today from Hometown Hills Farm, Andy and Mike. Guys, tell us where you're calling in from, and one of you just tell us a little bit about the background with Hometown Hills Farm, when you got started, and how you guys met each other.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you having us. Andy and I are excited to be with you. Our farm is located in New Jersey, in rural Sussex County. The town is Wantage, also known as Sussex Town. And we started our farm journey about 5 years ago. We purchased the land, had a big plan of what we wanted to do, and slowly been inching towards getting to where we want to be. Obviously, everything takes time, and we're very particular in what we do and how we do things. So it kind of makes things a little bit slower than what we'd like. We're making a lot of progress. We have a lot of good client base, customer base, and we're proud of what we've started. Andy and I met, we went to high school together. We weren't the closest during that time, but Andy's been in the farming world pretty much right out of college. And that's how we met. Once I purchased the land and what to do with it, Andy kind of created that vision based on his experience of what to do and more so how to do it. And I've been playing catch up with it a little bit, but together we've accomplished a lot in a short amount of time. And it's been fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. And Andy, what is your background? Did you study like agri-science in college, or what kind of got you into this space post?
No, actually, I went to school for teaching. And I am a teacher.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
So I'm a health and phys ed teacher for the elementary level. But that career is so competitive. You know, it took me forever to find a job. So I actually started working with Dish Network, installing dishes, and I absolutely hated it. So a friend of my wife asked me to come help him, and he had a farm. I worked there for about 2 years, almost 3. And that's how I kind of started getting into it. And it was, every day, 5-6 days a week, which is where my experience came from. That turned sour. Whole big story with him, but he turned out to be pretty much a con artist. So I left and I pursued my teaching career again, found teaching. And within that same year, Mike had just bought this land and said, "Hey, listen, I know you've been working. I know you got experience farming. I don't really know anything about it. So why don't you come help me now?" And, because of like that whole first couple of years of that business and things going sour, me and my wife were kind of still like hesitant. We're like, I don't know if I want to get back into this, but me and Mike really, we got to know each other very well. And, now we've been working together for 4 or 5 years and he's like a brother to me. So the whole trust issues with that is not there. Now we're satisfied and we're hitting the ground running.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It can always be tough. I mean, even with entrepreneurs in any space, you have a bad relationship with like a co-packer, distributor or something. It's going to be a little overcautious getting into something like that again, but this is great. I mean, it's good you guys found each other. I mean, you're clearly having some success, 5 years in business now, right? So can you tell me a little bit about, I guess, curious, obviously talked to a good number of farmers over the past few weeks there on the pod. You'll see much more of them come out. It's been a lot of guests on the podcast in this space. And so what I kind of find is there's a lot of variability there with kind of channels people are selling through here in 2024. A lot of people with like newer farm ventures like you guys are doing will focus more on D2C or even like turning the produce into like a meal prep type of thing. And you're doing all kinds of like creative things like that. So can you tell me a little bit about, what kind of channels you guys are selling through? You're doing mostly wholesale? Do you work with any co-packers? What's kind of the general strategy for you guys?
Yeah, so that's actually what turned this into a bigger business than a hobby, which is kind of what it was started as. I sold real estate for a long time in a very wealthy, affluent area, very close to Manhattan. And the clientele there were willing to pay for a quality product. And what actually worked out better was they didn't have the freezer space. And instead of them or educating them on the freezer space, we just sold to them the way that they could utilize what they had. And we just started selling starter pack, which is basically a quarter of a quarter cow. And after selling enough quarter packs for the whole cow, it was coming out to about $6,000, a little over $6,000 a cow. And we realized that we had something and we can't keep the beef on our shelf because of the consumer. I know a lot of times it's don't undercut the local farmer or whatnot, but seek out your customer and your clients of who you want to be in business with. And, we stuck to that. It came a little easy because of the previous business we had. Andy's also a teacher in a very affluent area and we cater to them. We offer grass-finished product. We also offer a grass-fed grain finished product to whatever the customer wants and feels is best for them and their family. And because of that, we've really been able to do well. So well that we're just always in need of more cows, and it's starting to pay the bills now. You know, it was just trying to get by to now making some money, nothing big time, but we're on our way. But we're doing it in the right way in terms of making sure we continue to deliver the product that they're looking for. And we spend a lot of time on anybody we sell meat to, we always ask them to come to the farm first, right? We want to show you the hay we use, why we use our hay. All our hay comes off our own fields because we know all of our local farmers who are our friends, but we know that they're spraying their fields to rid the weeds, to give to the horse people, etc. And totally fine for some people, but it just wasn't what we wanted for our product. Any of the grain that we use, the grain finished, is soy-free, non-GMO. It's more costly, and our customer base is totally okay with that, right? We don't care if you spend more money, we'll pay you more money. We just want to know what we're getting and that it's quality. And they really just love that. Andy did a great job with putting together an educational sheet that we were able to give to the consumer, which included our feedback tag of what exactly was in our grain if you decided to go to grain finished cow, educating them on grass finished product, of the taste difference, the color difference versus grain. And we never came off as salesy. We've done really well with direct to consumer. We're still going to continue to go that route. We just both enjoy that route. We're going to start opening up our farm store, which is going to be in the city area, which is about an hour and a half away from our farm. And we're just going to have like a meat market type thing, but not where we're going to sell individual cuts. It's still going to be a starter pack, a quarter cow, half cow, a full cow. What we'll do, because I go back and forth, as does Andy to his school, is we're going to allow them to purchase a full cow if they'd like to, but we're going to store it for them. And then we're going to bring it back weekly for them in terms of what they want. Right? Just submit your order for the week. If not, this is what you're going to get. If you want it changed, just let us know. And it's just that catering service that we found a little niche in that wasn't offered anywhere where we are. And the education of why they should be concerned about what they eat and what they feed their children has really blossomed into what Andy loves to do, is teach. I went to school to be a teacher. I ended up being in real estate. So I still serve people. And we keep that service mentality into the farming business, and the education of not just eat farm fresh meat, but why, and what are the differences between the grocery and farm fresh. And we always preach. We have a lot of people asking us a little further out if we would sell our beef to them, and we always encourage them just to find somebody more local. And we always say, ask the right questions. Here's some of the list of questions you should ask. If you're still not content with your local farmer, give us a call. But I'm certain that there's got to be somebody there that can service you properly. And it's worked. You know, we just came from the genuine point of view, just the point of who we are, and making sure that our product really was what we said it was. So direct to consumer has been huge. We'll get more into the subscription based once we open up the farm store in the city in about 6 months. And we just continue it that way.
That's awesome, man. It goes such a long way. I mean, giving people kind of like, you call them sales letters or like newsletters or whatever you want to call them. That stuff really does go a long way. And the way you conduct yourselves, you know, in that way of like even recommending like other local places, just say like, hey, like, just so you know, here's the right questions to ask. And if you can't get the right answers to the questions, we're here. But if not, like, you can go local too. I think that goes a long way for people because there's such a lack of transparency with, you know, what's being put into meat, like what's being fed to the cows, like how even it's treated, even after it's butchered. There's a lot of like lack of transparency there too. So exactly. I'm sure it's probably a huge breath of fresh air for a lot of people to actually know what's going on. And it's good that you understand who your ideal customer is as well. It's not just obviously like this meat is good for everybody. Everybody should have meat of this quality and, you know, raised the right way. But, you know, you only have so many cows and you know who your customer is. It's a really strong suit as well. So how would you say
what was nice, even knowing the right customer base, we found somebody through word of mouth, through one of our other customers who had a daughter that was having an issue. She was relatively young, about 7 years old, going through puberty already, and had some body odor issues and some hormonal issues. And 8 of the doctors that she seeked out all recommended like hormone therapy. And she just was really against that. And the next doctor she met said, you really got to find a clean meat purveyor because I'm pretty certain that most of these issues are coming from your eating.
Right.
We worked with her for a year, made sure that her diet was primarily the food we were giving her to make sure that it was having an effect or not, because we didn't know what exactly was going to happen either. And I would say about 9 months after focusing on the strict meat diet that we had of our beef, our pork, our eggs, her body odor went away. Hormonal issues progressed like 75% and better, right? So once we saw that, it became bigger than meat sales. We keep that mindset of, which keeps us going, right? Like this is really helping some people aside just from filling their freezer, putting food on the table. It's solving some issues that they may not know are coming to them based on what they're eating. And Andy could speak to that tremendously based on his diet that he's been executing now for almost 9 months, and what that's done to his health and his weight and his allergies and gut health, etc. We never really had that mindset of solving problems, but now understanding it more, it's not just selling meat. It's solving some health issues that some people have that we could solve through food.
It's so interesting. It's like, this is one of the beauties of, having such such transparency with their customers and doing the direct to consumer sales and getting that feedback and having forming real relationships with your customers is like, you get to find things out like that. Like, not only get the good feedback, like, yeah, it tastes great. Yes, I feel better. But also, stories like that are how gratifying it must that be to be able to really help somebody in that way. It's like, it's so incredible. And then you realize along the way as well, obviously, that if you ever hear somebody else with this issue again, you say like, hey, you don't need hormone therapy. You don't need more petroleum based prescription drugs. It might just be, the food that you're eating. And as you say too, is really interesting is, most people, they don't even realize how many issues they have eating very highly processed meat and that with all the additives and the really poor diets that a lot of cows have. You don't even realize how bad you feel till the other side of it, right? There's something I definitely came into recently as well. So I can definitely level with that for sure.
And we always tell them food is like a religion for most people, from what I found out. And speaking to them, it takes time, right? You're not going to convert somebody to Catholicism, to Christianity in a day. It's not happening. They have to become a believer. They have to understand and want to have a change in whether it's their lifestyle or their health. And it takes time. And that's why we come from the educational background and continually invite people up, and more so rely on the stories of people who have benefited from a healthier diet. Andy, you want to tell a little bit about your diet and what it's done for you?
Yes, like I said, it's tough. Not everybody can just convert. And I even find it difficult. I'm a father of 3 girls. And, what I did was I started researching the carnivore diet. You ever hear the carnivore diet?
Yeah, no, I know it's been very popular. I feel like it's been kind of trending recently in certain circles I've seen. Yeah.
So I started following that community on social media. I follow guys like Dr. Anthony Chafee and Sean Baker, who are pretty much the gurus of that community. But I went real strict for several months. And, I have psoriatic arthritis. That completely went away. Allergies, I took a allergy pill every single morning. Didn't matter what season. Those went away.
Wild.
I was over 200 pounds, which, isn't an unhealthy weight for me. I'm 5'10", but I always wanted to be around 180. And for 10 years, I've been trying to get down to 180, eating salads and eating healthy, and could never really get below 190. I'd kill myself working out. Could never do it. Within 2 months of that carnivore diet, the fat just melted away. I got down to 170 in 2 months. And it wasn't like I was hungry, and it wasn't like I was constipated or had any issues with gut health. It just stripped right off. A big thing is eating the saturated fats. Hit a couple bumps in the road. There was times where I was eating too lean and, the next days I wouldn't have a lot of energy. But it basically cured my entire body. All my inflammation went away. I had back pain, knee pain for years. And again, you take medication, you take drugs. Doctors always prescribe you drugs, but really it's just all in your diet. And it's not like my diet was bad, but I didn't know where my food was coming from. And the second I started just eating our meat, within 2 months, it was like I was a brand new person. I felt almost like superhuman. Brain fog was gone.
What was good also with that, because Andy was on the carnivore diet, I started researching more about vegans and plant-based diets, because I wanted to know the opposite of what he was doing. Right. Just because I'm a big believer in, if you're one way and you see the benefits, you still need to understand the other side, right? Why don't they believe in it, and what information are they getting? And maybe there's a combination of both, right, at some level. But it was fascinating as him and I have gone through this journey and seeing the misinformation that's out there correlated to red meat and cholesterol levels and heart attacks and blood pressure. The misinformation is insane. But what I found out more was the lack of information about meat. Not even just the misinformation. It was just a lack of information, that the health related positives to it. And on the contrary, the plant-based and vegan and all those non-meat based diets, there was no factual benefits to it, right? It was more hypothetical and stay away from red meat because and as soon as I heard that, I'm like, we know that this isn't true now, because they're not even speaking truly about the other side. And that's what I was concerned of, that if Andy was so carnivore based, that he had to speak truth about the other side as well. And it just started to come full circle. Like I said, I wasn't a believer in the diet at first. I don't execute the carnivore diet by any means, but I understand how it benefits somebody, and specifically the people that we work with. And now seeing it through Andy, it's just really been a beautiful thing to see and understand.
Yeah, it's so interesting I feel like there's been such a crazy advent of like nutritional science, or like just a general awareness of like how food really can affect you over the past like just recent, probably like just 3-4 years. And one of the things I've noticed, at least just from like listening to these conversations, people I'll go on podcasts to talk about it, you just hear it's been a big topic of conversation in like the media recently. And what you find is, I mean, there's no one like perfect answer to like a lot of these problems, but there are like certain things like the carnivore diet that can really help with very specific problems that people have. And a vegan diet might be good for somebody who has a specific sort of issues that they're dealing with in their own diet and different sensitivities that they have. And the carnivore diet might work better for some people and might not, depending on their own sensitivities and things. So it's so unique to every specific person. And I love your perspective of it, wanting to see it from both sides, because too much of what you see about the carnivore diet online from a lot of like the real like bros out there, it's just like everybody should be doing this. It's like if you're eating plants, like this is like it's always got to go too far to one side. So I think you guys have a very even keeled approach to it, and I'm sure it's something that you're asked often. When you talk about maybe that you're on a carnivore diet, somebody might say, well, they might ask you questions about that. So it's good to know that side of it too.
Everybody's different, It's not for everybody. And like I said, it really puts a damper on your social life. Like you can't go out to eat at the restaurants. You have to always eat home, because you don't know, they could be using vegetable oil and all kinds of stuff. So it's definitely not for everybody, especially if you travel a lot and things like that. But
I think the reality of what we found, right, at some level, if you get to that point, you're going to benefit, right? You don't have to go full-fledged into it. But if you could make a healthy choice or an alternative to the way you were doing things, that life could still be the same but better,
right?
Especially in relation to your health. I coach a lot on wealth and wellness, and the biggest thing that I always say is, we sacrifice our health to get wealthy, and then we end up spending our wealth on our health later on in life. And most of that is because entrepreneurial people will beat themselves up mentally, physically, emotionally. Most overall, they lack a complete understanding of fueling your body, of what's fueling your emotions and your physical ability and your mental capacity. It's a lot of that fuel is your food, right? And understanding what you put in and not getting enough of can be solved a lot by food, not by all. There's definitely supplements that'll be needed that your body just can't get and can't produce through just food. But the wellness aspect of incorporating that and understanding that food is your fuel, right? Like you can't just be feeding it, which I was a culprit of, right? Like running around busy, then just grabbing a McDonald's. That was my life, because I was out around in appointments and meetings and going out to dinners and drinking and all of those things played a massive effect on my well-being, mentally, physically, emotionally. And as I made that change or converted my religion, it's only been beneficial to me, my family, and everybody around me.
And that's really the big like mission for you guys. I mean, I can tell just from talking to you. I mean, that's really what you're trying to bring with what you're doing. Not just to sell meat to make a buck, right? It's like it's some real change happening here with the people that you work with. I can tell you work closely with your customers, which is awesome too. Let me ask you one question about that. I'm just curious, like it sounds like you have a pretty devout following of people who like buy from you time and time again in like decent quantities too. How many like real like different clients do you have right now? I mean, is it kind of like the same like 10 to 15 families that you see? It's kind of like recurring business, or like, but what kind of scale are you looking at there?
So right now we always have it's probably about like 25 families that are recurring, but anybody we get becomes a recurring client. And I truthfully don't believe they fall in love with our meat. I don't believe that. It may be, but I don't believe it. I believe that they fell in love with us,
right.
Who we are, our story, our journey, and understanding that as young men, we're trying to just establish something for our children, right? I have a 7-month-old. We're planning on having more children. Andy has 3 girls. He wasn't thrilled with the way that they were eating and things of that nature. And we're just trying to make changes in our own lives to benefit our own families. And if you want to join in that and help yourself and help your family, we have something that can help you start with that, right? There's other things that you'll have to do on your own. That's what keeps everybody coming back. Because I think at the end of the day, especially with a wealthier, affluent client base, everything for them is convenience. And they could go to the grocery store, they could order Instacart and have all the meat delivered from Whole Foods. Not going to make a difference to them, but understanding a little bit more about the product and keeping it convenient for them through a delivery service and keeping it fun where they get to kind of buy a larger quantity, which they would have never had a capacity to. Visit the farm and understand everything behind it, gives them that education that they want, because they like to be educated about everything. And especially when it comes to their children, mostly everybody wants their children to do better than them, right? And if we could start our children on this journey a little bit sooner than maybe what we have done, it should make a bigger impact on them and the future of how food is thought of and purchased, with now things going to lab grown meat, and like it's going in a different direction. That's concerning. But some people aren't concerned because it's just a convenient thing, and their focus is wealth and money and stability and everything else. And we try to educate them that you can have all those thoughts and plans of building wealth and getting a promotion. But along that way, it's just, if you keep a mindset about what you're putting into your body, is going to continue to help you in every area of what you're doing. And they see it, they believe it, because they know we're living it. Now, we're not just out there pumping out product and selling it to the world. It's a select few that get this. And whoever is a recurrent client always stays at the top of the list to get meat again. And we're continuing to, every year, gaining about a 20% clientele coming into the family, which is why we're having an issue with cattle, and where the prices are right now. It's just astronomical, and it's tough to get going because that investment takes 3 years to get it back. When you get the cow, to get it pregnant, to let it mature and feed it out, or not feed it out, takes even longer. So it's been challenging, but we just bought another 120 acres. And for New Jersey to be an hour away and have the ability to have over 300 plus acres is pretty astonishing. But we have a lot of work to do with our rotational grazing, which is Andy's really the expert in that. And it's changed our pastures. I mean, from the rotational grazing and showing people what we do that's different than the traditional farm. I mean, we've always said we're not the farmers that'll do what granddaddy did and granddaddy's granddaddy did, because we don't believe in that's how it was always done. That's how it should be done. That we're the complete opposite. And I always tell people that, like, in our farming principles and what we do and strategy is similar to how you should be living your life. Like, just because it's been done this way, whether it's what you eat and go to the grocery store, doesn't mean that necessarily how it should continue to be done, you know? And the rotational grazing and regenerative agriculture has been an amazing topic amongst the consumers to really understand what's happening and why we do such thing, and why our product's a little bit different, why our journey's a little bit different. They've grown a true fascination and love for it as much as we have.
Yep. And that, that kind of doing things the old way, like that's how we got to where we are today. Like, we want to continue that, or do we want to do things the right way now going forward and instill that for the next generation? It's like, it's just been too rinse and repeat for too many generations now. It's just gotten to a really over optimized and manufactured way, I think.
I was listening to Joel Soliton. He's became a buddy of mine, and he was actually going to come to my wealth and wellness event in May. And one thing he mentioned was, like, the new 401k is being in an area where you're next to people who know how to grow their own stuff, build their own stuff, and fix their own stuff. Yeah. And if you want a safety net in terms of wealth, like, that is the new wealth of that new 401k. And again, it's just completely eye-opening.
Yeah, no, it definitely isn't. Yeah, I just want to give you guys an opportunity as well before we get off here, just to shout out your website, let people know how to stay in touch with y'all. If anybody's in Jersey or nearby, they want to get in touch with you, they're interested in buying, let people know where to find you on their websites, any socials you have, or how to get in touch with you guys personally.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Matt. Our website is hometownhillsfarm.com. Again, we're located in Sussex County.
Nice. You sell the hats?
Yeah, we sell hats.
Awesome.
We sell hats, we sell shirts, we sell hoodies. And that's more for fun. We make $6 per product. The $6 that we make goes to the 4-H local programs.
Nice.
That's just more to keep people involved and have some fun. But yeah, we'd love to hear from absolutely anybody and everybody, whether it's questions or interested in some of the products that we have, or even how we do things. As I said, we both love teaching and educating everybody. It would mean more than to be able to help fellow farmers and even consumers that are looking for the right stuff. And Instagram, our tag is Hometown Hills Farm. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we have some really fun stuff coming up. We're going to be creating a YouTube channel with the new farm we just bought.
Nice.
We're going to be fencing that in and building our new corral system. And it's a blessing that we have a second go at all this, because we made a lot of mistakes in our first go with fencing and gates, location, and muddy areas and things like that. So we've learned a lot. And again, we have a blessing being able to do it again. And we'd hope people join in our journey no matter where you are, because we've learned a lot and we're about to correct a lot of those mistakes and make something special at the new farm.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time today, guys. I love your vision. I think anybody who watched the podcast will be able to see your passion, hoping it help in some small way, get more people in touch, and just even just like sparking more of these conversations. And just like we had today, I think it's really important. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks,
appreciate
it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, man. Take care. Nice meeting you.
Take care.